Folks, happy Friday morning. Welcome to Black Friday and welcome to the Freedom from the Press podcast. My name is Jason Robertson. I'm here with my partner in crime.
Hello, everyone. Todd Peterson. Happy post-Thanksgiving to you all here on the holiday weekend.
Oh, my gosh. Todd, I got to say, Thanksgiving is such a beautiful time of year. You get to hang out with your family. You get to eat too much food. And really, where today's episode comes from is we all got together with family and we were talking politics, and invariably it comes up even as much as you try not to. And this year there's this sense that I have where people are starting to slowly wake up. And this is where we need to be kind to our Democrat friends, because if you look back, those folks were living in an alternate reality. And I made the comparison to my family. It's like when you were a kid and you thought Santa Claus was real, right? Hey, every year I put out cookies, this guy comes down the chimney, and then someday somebody says, Santa Claus isn't real. And all of a sudden your world comes crashing down because you're like, what are you talking about? Santa Claus isn't real. Like, I get presents every year. And no. I know we told you all that stuff, but it's not true. And all of a sudden it just like rattles your world. And I'm getting this feeling that Democrats are starting to land on that. And that's going to be the topic of today's show. We're going to show some of the lies they're being told and how people are waking up. And then in the second half of the show, we're going to talk specifically about how it affects President Trump. Todd, what was your experience on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, so I want to explain the photo we have up here really fast. So it's just a kind of a joke about, instead of having a kid table, this family had a Democrat table, which, humorous, but I'd rather have they sit with us, Jason, so we can talk them through some of their grieving process right now, like you mentioned here. My experience yesterday was that there was zero politics. And Jason, I was talking to you before the show a little bit about this. One of my takeaways from it is that they don't really have a lot to celebrate right now. It's getting really hard. And even if they're clinging on to their reality, because it would be so much harder to admit they've been wrong about everything this whole time, and they'd have to reformulate their entire worldview. Some people are clinging on to that and saying maybe it's just Joe Biden. If I vote in a different Democrat, things will be different next time. But at the same time, they know that things are not going well right now. They're not going to blame themselves for the situation. They cast a ballot for Joe Biden in 2020. They're not going to say that it's my fault that we're in this predicament as a nation and as a country. But they had nothing to talk about yesterday. We're all over Trump bad, Orange Man bad. They can't keep doing this anymore. Like, did you hear about the case in Colorado? No one really cares. No one follows that if you're just kind of a regular person with politics. But you see every day that the cost of Thanksgiving is going up. You see that the cost to fill up your car is going up. Just going to the grocery store every week, that's getting more expensive. And then you keep reading stories about what's happening at borders around the world. If you follow any national news, you see that there are things going on around the world in terms of immigration that just isn't going well anymore. And we have some things to talk about over in Ireland specifically in a little bit, maybe the Netherlands as we get into their politics. But nothing's going good right now. And so as it was quiet on the home front yesterday at my Thanksgiving table, I think that's a big part of it.
Well, and it's funny because you think back, go back a few years ago, and at your dinner table, if you wore a Trump hat or you mentioned President Trump, you were the Antichrist. Like, you were supporting a dictator. And there was the period where Donald Trump is a Russian agent and they stole our elections. Of course, now we can't talk about stolen elections. Donald Trump was going to get us into World War III. Donald Trump is Hitler. Donald Trump is gonna ruin immigration, and he's putting kids in cages and all this obscure stuff. And now, as we're going to go through today, Democrats got power, Democrats implemented policies, and the results that we all told them were going to happen from these policies are all happening. And there, it's like with your kids, like, don't put your finger in the light socket, and they do it and they get a shock and they're like, holy cow, you were right. And I think that's where a lot of the Democrat normies are landing. And let me define Democrat normies. Okay, so your establishment Democrat politicians, they're bought and paid for. They're going to keep going with the narrative. Your Democrat media, bought and paid for. They're going to go with the narrative. And we'll show you some clips later that the media is putting out. It's ridiculous. So now you get into, regular civilian citizens. And in some of these states, like the blue-haired liberal that lives downtown and single woman who had 12 abortions and owns 25 cats, she's not going to change her mind. She is not the people we're talking about today. We're talking about your normal neighbor who has, he signed up for the Democrat Party 25 years ago, and he's continued, or she has continued to go down this path with the Democrat Party, leading to ultimately to the rough condition that we're in. But now things have gone so far that they can't even do it. And personally, I think what's predicating this wake up is the financial impact of everyday citizens. And I think we're going to really get people waking up. When they can't buy food, things get tough. And Todd, I'll let you talk about this graphic and kind of where this came from.
Yeah, so you talk about cognitive dissonance, Jason. And so here are people going to work, going to the store, going home every day, trying to feed their family, pay their bills. A side note, their property taxes are still going up in this real estate market, so that's pinching them as well. Like, they may be locked in at a 3% rate, Jason, but everything else about owning a home and living in that home is still getting more expensive. But here you have the Biden White House pushing out this Thanksgiving key prices are down meme. They're citing the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and again, statistics can show whatever you really want it to show here. So we're gonna expose this in just a second here. But the Biden admin had KGP go out. They had this tweeted from the White House account on Twitter. Airline tickets are down. They're celebrating airplane tickets for some reason. That doesn't really affect most people's day to day. Car rental prices are down. Same thing. Who's going to rent a car if you're a normal person? But eggs down 22%. Milk. Sit down for this, Jason. Milk is down 1.6% according to the Biden White House. So you just saved a penny and a half there. Bacon, right? Veggies, toys. Got to get toys in there for the holiday season coming up, Christmas season. Televisions, because everyone's always buying TVs, 10%. So this is the official narrative that Joe Biden's White House has gotten key prices down for the Thanksgiving holiday because they look out for you. They look out for the middle class. So that sounds pretty good, right, Jason?
Yeah, and it's funny as you look at Thanksgiving key prices. I don't know about you, Todd, but I'm not buying a TV or a used car, truck. I'm not. I mean, some people travel, so maybe airline tickets and stuff, but they're not talking about food and whatnot. And understand that they just picked down from what, down from where, down from when, and this is that cognitive distance we talk about. Because I don't know about you, we went grocery shopping because we hosted Thanksgiving at our house. It was like a $400 bill. And it's like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, that would have been a $200 bill. And so a normie is going to say, you just told me inflation is down and I just spent a ridiculous amount at the grocery store. What gives, Todd?
Well, it turns out that the Biden White House lives in one world and the rest of us live in reality here. And so this is from the Daily Caller. They did their own fact check on the Biden White House tweet and KGP's talking points. We'll get to KGP in just a second here as well. But they took the timeline of since 2021 to the present day. And Jason, look at the difference when you go back just 2 years and you look at actually meaningful items. You have uncooked poultry up 31%, bread up 26%, potatoes up 14%, desserts up 31%, and vegetables up 9%. So here are the meat and potatoes, right? Literally what people are buying at the grocery store every week, and especially for Thanksgiving. Go back 2 years, and these things are off the charts expensive. And again, we don't know the timeline the White House used. Did they look at it from like last week and say food prices are down 10% in the last week? We have no idea. But when you're getting a specific timeline, and this in the case is 2 years ago, the reality is a lot different, and it matches up to what we actually see. And Jason, I just want to pop this one up as well here really fast. So we had KGP going out in front of her podium saying, look at America, the Biden White House is taking care of you here. And Elon Musk's Twitter just slams a fact check right in there, and it says, the claim compares prices to last year, a point in the middle of Biden's term. Even then, food prices are not as low as claimed. And then compared to the beginning of Biden's term, all prices remain significantly higher. Gas, for example, remains up 36% since Biden took office. So completely different world than what the Biden White House would like you to believe.
It's funny, Alice. Thanks for the chat, Alice. Great comment. Grocery shopping depresses me. I remember when I used to love going grocery shopping because I'm like, oh, look at all this food we're gonna get, and like nothing's better than food, right? Well, I mean, maybe a couple things, but like food's pretty awesome. And now you walk into the grocery store and it's like, I got my list. I can't get anything not on this list. I bought a jar of mayonnaise when we went shopping. It was $12. And we don't go to a fancy grocery store. And I'm like, how is this even possible? But here's an important point for folks to understand too. When they say Thanksgiving key prices are down, What they actually mean is this is the inflation rate is down. So the prices are still going up. They're just going up slower. So for those out there, yeah, they're going to say inflation is transitory, which was when inflation started going bonkers. That was kind of the message coming out of the White House. And it's fascinating too, because that inflation continues going up, and then that's the new price. So when you take milk and it goes from $2 a gallon to $3 a gallon because it went up, 30, 40, 50%, that price is then set. That's not going back down to $2. So that increase you saw in all those core good prices about inflation and it's transitory. Well, transitory, it stays because you don't see prices returning back down to the lower levels. So, Todd, what do you think about transitory inflation?
That's one of those words. That's one of those wonderful leftist euphemisms that sounds great. It has no bearing in reality. Like you said, Jason, if price of milk goes from $2 to $3, that's 50% inflation. And then they celebrate the next month and say, we got inflation down to 3%. Well, guess what? It went from $3 to $3.01. Like your day-to-day experience is horrible still, but they get to pretend that they brought inflation down to, a manageable number, but completely not based in reality. Again, is kind of what we're trying to focus on here this morning. And Jason, I gotta pop this one up because this is fantastic too. So Thanksgiving, they're trying to lie to you about what the price of everything is. I'm sure viewers will recall, you and I certainly recall, Jason, when they had the first barbecue, first 4th of July under Biden's term, and they celebrated the fact that you got to save 16 cents on your entire setup on food.
Oh my God. That's where it all started. And it's funny, sometimes these things start and you're like, gosh, that was a horrible idea. And it was the first year Joe Biden took office. They were celebrating your 16-cent savings, and now they continue on it. And I gotta say, it's one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen where the Americans are hurting. I mean, raise your hand, put a note in the chat if financially things are tough. Your insurance is going up, your copays are going up, your property taxes. I just got my property taxes went up for the 4th time in 4 years. Everything's going up. Interest rates on credit cards are going up, and your price at the stores are going up. You can't buy nothing without paying 20% more. And so you take their horrible economic policy and you brand it. You say, we're going to call it Bidenomics. Who does that? Who takes their worst thing that one of the worst things our administration's doing and says we're going to tie this directly to what they're doing? It's the most bizarre thing that I've ever seen.
And Jason, it's not just us doing this. Yeah, I would love to hear in the comments if other folks are having something similar. I imagine they do. Do you want to get in some videos that we got here of people saying the exact same thing?
Let's go for it.
I just got back from doing groceries and I have $70 worth of groceries on my table right now, and I genuinely don't even know what I purchased that made it to $70. The cost of living, and I'm not even really saving that. I'm not saving anything really, but the cost of living is outrageous in Canada. And it's just so, I was telling my parents, like, it's just so frustrating that, like, you do all the right things, you go to university and then you come out, you get a job, whatever, and you can barely afford rent.
All right. Take it away, Jason. I know you wanted to
say those are our friends up north in Canada too. And why is Canadian inflation so crazy? Because
they have someone worse than Biden.
Right, they have somebody worse than Biden.
Imagine that.
And when we do inflation, because we print all this money, that impacts the entire world because everyone's on the U.S. reserve currency.
Jason, I love this comment, and then I want to comment on the video too, but Lenny says, everything is bad when Democrats are in control. Like I said at the onset of the show today, I don't think there was anything that my Democrat voting relatives could celebrate at Thanksgiving, and really that's probably the case all the time. What is a policy Democrats run on and promote and put into practice that actually helps regular folks? And again, Jason, you and I, both sides of the aisle, we go after establishment Republicans just as much. There's a lot of things that they leave on the table and don't help us all. But when it comes to Democrats specifically, if you're a Democrat voter, if you voted for Biden, if you plan to vote Democrat in 24 and you're watching the show right now, drop it in the comments here. I'm genuinely interested to see if there is something that you see as valuable coming out of the Democrat Party right now, because I just don't see it. And I see everything getting worse when they're in power.
Yeah, it's fascinating too, because And this will be my shout out. Thanks folks for tuning in. Hey, our Rumble channel's actually got a few viewers over there now. We just launched that live last week, so thanks everybody tuning on in Rumble. Shout out to you guys. But what's interesting is we tell people we think establishment Republicans and Democrats are both corrupt, and we encourage you to share this message. That's how we help beat the algorithm. That's how we help get our word out. But also, right now, Democrats are sitting there going, I need to get more information because I tune on CNN or MSNBC or I read USA Today and they tell me inflation's down. And you know what? I look at my bills and inflation's not down. And so we all have an opportunity as free thinkers to share content like this and say, hey, just listen to this. This is how they're doing it. This is what they're doing. And that's how we help break the narrative. And that's how we help take the country back. Because it's not about right versus left. It's about the establishment politicians versus Americans. And Joe Biden is the ultimate establishment politician.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Jason, kind of that point too, it gives me a little hope thinking back to that video there. This is a younger person doing a little thinking on their own here, but this is what's going to happen. You're going to have to come to terms with the reality you're living in yourself. But at the very end, she says, I did everything I was supposed to. I went to college, I got a job, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm adulting, and it's not working out for me. And that's the real red pill moment when everything they told you to do, and it would just kind of magically work out like, well, wait a second, there's powers, there's forces higher than me right now that are controlling how my life is working out, and they're realizing that's government, and government is not looking out for me.
Well, yeah, and it's fascinating because for us, we believe in small government. We believe in people, should control your own destiny. We don't like when government tells us what to do. Give me freedom and let me go make a life for ourselves. And they tried to make this template for these young people, do this, do this, do this, and then everything magically works out. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't work out if you don't go out and do it. Like this poor kid that went to school, they never learned that you need to drive profit for your company and that's how you make money. They thought they went and they thought the degree was the path, not what you're going to learn and then what you can leverage. Because if some company is going to pay you to do stuff, that you need to actually do stuff. You need to show your worth to that company or they're just not going to pay you much.
Absolutely. Yeah, great comment from Dave here. Lying Joe Biden is just trying to play a shell game on we the people. Nothing but a lying con man. I don't know if that was misspelled intentionally or not, but nice job, Dave. And his administration looking like a B movie to the people. Yeah, absolutely. Like we're waking up and seeing how awful this really is.
Yeah, and then shout out, we got Paul Reese from one of our fabulous sponsors. Todd, do you want to talk about the sponsor?
Yeah, I'm sporting the blue mug today. I don't have our American Tribune mug this morning. But Paul is part of a great network of people here, Split Rock Coffee. So this is what I'm drinking right now in my blue mug today. Jason, you got a little Split Rock in your mug as well for the show. But Split Rock Coffee, it's veteran-owned, disabled-owned right here in Minnesota, where Jason and I are podcasting out of this morning. And if you want to get a great deal, they've got some wonderful promotions for the Thanksgiving, Christmas season here coming up. Use promo code TODD10, and you're going to get yourself 10% savings on some delicious coffee.
We love that. Thanks for tuning in, Paul. And once again, that website, Split Rock Coffee. We got a commercial coming up, so we'll talk about that. We love sponsors. We got them. We got My Pillow. Oh, that's fabulous.
Great stuff. And Jason, we are not sponsored by Costco, but should we take a little tour around Costco to see what inflation has done to that mega store?
Let's do this.
I'm walking around Costco here, looking at all the things I used to buy, and I can't believe the inflation on some of these items. I used to buy these exact chicken breasts right here for $6.99. Now they're $12.99. So this canola oil, even though it's poison, was like $7.99 last year. And I'm pretty sure a year before that, it was even a lot cheaper. I bought this exact same pack of bacon for $8.99 less than 2 years ago. Now, it's nearly double that. That's insane. These potatoes right here used to be such a good deal. They were like $4.79 and they were $5.99. We used to buy them all the time. Nowadays, it's just not worth it at $8.99. We'll buy regular potatoes. Last time I bought this mayonnaise here, it was $4.99. Now it's $9.99. That's literally double the price.
All right, we could go on and on with that, but I think you get the idea.
It's truly remarkable. And we are talking about people waking up. This is exactly what we're talking about is you've got Joe Biden and this administration and their media out there, their cronies in the media saying, "Oh, prices, inflation's down," and then you walk in the grocery store and you pay $12 for a jar of mayonnaise. It's kind of remarkable, you know. The other thing we got to transition to too, Todd, is we've got to talk about immigration. So for those of us who have a brain, we can look at you can't have both. You can't set up a government welfare state and give unfettered access to the country. So send us all the people from around the world to America, and we will bring them in and we'll give them free stuff. Which, by the way, we all see how this doesn't work because every job out there is hiring right now. Every job can't find qualified people, but everybody knows a bunch of people, for whatever reason, aren't having to work because they're getting some sort of assistance. But back to immigration, you let all these people in, you have the security issues, you have the voting issues, and to a lot of Americans, that doesn't conceptualize. A few episodes ago, we talked about the immigration border or the immigration crisis, and we were talking about how they let 8 million people into America, which is like the 12th largest state since Joe Biden took office. But now it's hitting people's pocketbooks. And Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott, credit to them because they've been sending illegal immigrants to sanctuary cities. A sanctuary city means we're not going to participate in the federal laws for deportation or whatnot. And Todd, how's it been going in New York with all these immigrants?
Well, you would think it was a far right, if we can use that term here, city, because the reaction from the mayor, from especially the residents, is that this needs to get cleaned up. You see a far left Democrat mayor begging the Biden admin for help. You see in Chicago as well, but you see, how do you say this in a Facebook friendly way here, but voters that would never ever consider voting for a Republican or Donald Trump begging their leadership to stop illegal immigrants from coming into their city. And they sound just like, not even just like us, they sound even more impassioned than us about illegal immigration because they see it affecting them, especially in a way as they're competing maybe for the same jobs or living in the same communities. But it's a real issue there, Jason. And to your point about it being conceptual and abstract, the great thing about DeSantis when he sent the plane load to Martha's Vineyard the other summer is that it forced people who believe something and virtue signal their beliefs about how wonderful everyone is and we're all a human being and no person's illegal, but it forced them to wake up and live side by side the reality that they were voting for. And so when you're conceptually, talk about Thanksgiving conversations, I remember last year having a conversation about immigration and I asked someone, would you let someone live in your own house? And they said no, they wouldn't even dream of it. They had a little kid. Why would they let a stranger in their house? But these people conceptually felt like, well, immigration isn't affecting me, so they can absolutely come into the country. Someone else will just take care of them. The government will take care of them. It wasn't in their neighborhood. It wasn't in their house that they had to deal with it. That is changing in New York. That's changing in Chicago. That's changing in these sanctuary cities. And now suddenly all these Joe Biden Democrat voters are realizing, there is a consequence to the way that I vote here. Should we let Adams explain what's happening now that immigrants have taken over New York?
Yeah, and just before you hit play, understand New York is a sanctuary city, which means if you come there and you're an illegal immigrant, you are treated just like an American citizen. And they have a right to shelter law, which means not only does the US let you in, give you your cell phone at the border, they fly you or bus you to New York. New York puts you up in a hotel and gives you immediate public assistance. So your housing's paid for and they give you money for food and clothes and all that thing. And when you frankly, there's a disincentive for people to work then because it's like a paid vacation, right? Hey, put me up in a hotel and give me money. But now that they've done that for several months, let's hear from Mayor Adams.
Let's see what happened. What happened to that?
For months, you've heard me talk about the fiscal challenges our city is facing as the cost of the asylum seeker humanitarian crises have skyrocketed, placing great strain on our budget. At the same time, COVID-19 stimulus funding is sunsetting. We have been clear that without significant timely action from our state and federal partners, we will be forced to make some tough choices.
So first of all, they're asylum seeking. It's an asylum seeking humanitarian crisis. I don't think they could have fit more words into that to just simply say these people are here illegally.
I was gonna say I love too how he references COVID money. COVID's been over for a couple of years. Why are you still looking for COVID money? There's plenty of jobs. Get back to work.
And
You know,
we just talked about inflation for 20 minutes. Do you realize? I think we all need to understand that the inflation we're dealing with right now is because, and again, Trump did this as well, but under Trump and Biden, as we talked about all these federal programs to relieve us because we didn't get to go to work, we were shut down in our homes. They printed trillions of dollars, and the net result of just printing money is that costs go up because you have a basic supply and demand. It's out of whack all of a sudden. So when he's saying that COVID monies are going away and times are getting tough, we can connect all these pieces to kind of the same thing. Here's government getting in the way and messing things up again.
right? And
Jason, take it away.
I was gonna say it's remarkable too that COVID is still like people are still talking about COVID money. Normal people don't realize that the government's still spending billions of dollars on COVID support programs. It's crazy.
And it's weird that now Adams can't rely on federal money. Again, our tax dollars are just Federal Reserve's new money that they printed out of thin air. Can't rely on that anymore. It's not like he has to balance a budget. So here is how he will balance his budget. And bear with us here as we're getting our graphics up. We'll get back to that in a second here. But Jason, I had a headline for you that Adams slashed the budget for police, libraries, and schools. Yep. Notice that he didn't set a new budget around maybe stopping people from coming in, maybe stop putting them up hotels, maybe stop giving them a check every month, don't give them a cell phone. He said, residents, citizens of America, citizens of New York, you are going to have to deal with less police, less libraries, and less functioning schools.
Yeah, so put that in perspective, folks. He landed on we're going to cut all the budget for essential services for American citizens, taxpayers in the city of New York. It's already dangerous. They're going to cut the police. They're going to cut the library funding. They're going to cut all the funding, and it's truly remarkable. And Todd, how are people accepting that reality? Should we hear?
How would you accept it, right? But Jason, we have a video here. I can't believe this is happening. So if we had a celebration intro, we would. We are going to show a video of Cardi B. This is the last human being on earth that I thought we'd ever show on our show. And not only just show her, but actually to prove our point. So, times are weird. People are waking up when we have a video here of Cardi B doing a little thing on Instagram for her audience, kind of corroborating what we're all saying. But people are waking up. And actually, there's a powerful message here. You have someone like her in a position of influence waking up a lot of other folks too, because they get their news from Cardi B. But let's see what she has to say about this.
Look, I'm not endorsing no presidents no more. Because how is there a $100 million budget cut in New York City for schools, library, police safety, and sanitation? Yeah, Joe Biden's talking about we could fund two wars. My talking about we don't got it, but we got it. Like, we're the greatest nation. No, the fuck we're not. We're going through some shit right now.
Oh, well, we forgot a caption there, but you get the point, I think.
Yeah, Cardi B is like you say, she is as left can be. And all of a sudden the cuts are impacting her and her city. And she's like, what are we doing? And she's having that red pill moment where all these policies are not true. They're not working. It's not going to be what we thought it would be. And that clip actually goes on. I had retweeted it, and it goes on
minutes.
for like 4 or 5 minutes.
5 or 6 minutes. But Jason, she is beyond wealthy. She is not affected by any of these policy decisions. She can go and live in her gated community or fly around the world and escape all these problems. On a day-to-day, Cardi B will buy groceries for the rest of her life and never even think about the price. But for her to notice that something is amiss, that's very telling.
It's very powerful. And so, the theme for the show today, folks, normies are waking up. Once again, that's why we ask you to like, comment, and share to help get reach out. But we especially encourage you to share our content with people you might not politically agree with, because I guarantee you have Democrat friends who are looking at this stuff and saying, oh no, we were lied to, and their brains breaking. Content like this helps wake them up. And as we go to break to pay some bills here, on the flip side, we're going to get back to one of our favorite topics, President Donald J. Trump.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
My Towels solved the problem that we've all had with towels. You go into the stores and they feel lotiony and soft, but then you get them home and they wind dry you. That's why I made My Towels. They actually work, they're soft, and they absorb. And now I'm excited to announce 2 brand new lines of My Towels. What makes them the best towels ever is they're now made with 100% long staple Shapir cotton. This is a combed ring spun cotton that makes My Towels even softer and more absorbent than ever. And now you get a 6-piece set for an amazing introductory sale price as low as $29.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get My Towels for only $29.98. Or you can get my designer premium line for just $20 more. Either way, you save 50% now on all My Towels. They actually work. What a concept. This offer won't last long, so please order now.
MyPillow.com. Hey, happy day, everybody. Thank you for your generous support this year for Split Rock Coffee. I just want to come to you real quick and talk to you about a couple of things. One of it is our Coffee with Purpose program. You know, that part of those profits go back to supporting our disabled veterans, our children, our families, organizations, Fishing for Life, Air Power, those types of things. Not only do you get a great cup of coffee, but I got to tell you, folks, it's a great mission that we're on. And we have light, medium, and dark, and it's in whole bean or ground. Now, here's a couple of samples of our ground product. This is a light and a dark, and there's a medium also. If you go to our website, splitrockcoffee.com, and all of our products are there, and take a few minutes, look around, leave us your comments, please. And today we've got a special. As you check out, you can use your promo code at splitrockcoffee.com, Todd10, TODD 10, folks. Todd 10 today, 10% off, and get on it right away because we're selling fast for fourth quarter. Christmas and the holidays is coming up, folks. Thank you again. SplitRockCoffee.com. Use your promo code Todd10. Thank you so much.
Hey, folks, welcome back. Uh-oh. Todd's doing some clicky. Uh-oh, we lost Todd. Oh my God, folks, where did Todd go? Hang on, let me kill this. We had this happen once a few weeks ago where Todd Todd's back.
Todd's back. Sorry about that, Jason.
Oh my gosh. Well, hey, you know, we like to say the IT department's not very big around here, but oh wait, that's Todd. My favorite one was when Todd had the cleaning lady unplug or somebody unplug his router. That was awesome because they're like, where did Todd go?
But hey, it's a live show. Thanks for keeping us alive, Jason.
Absolutely. And folks, you know, that's why you can support our work. Go to the AmericanTribune.news. It helps. You can do a free subscription or you can do a paid subscription. The paid subscription helps us fund our activities. So we appreciate your support either way. And as we come out of the break, we're going to go into President Trump and what's happening with the rhetoric with President Trump and how this is going to cause some cognitive dissonance for folks. So Todd, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, shout out to Red Voice Media here. So we have a tweet that we're popping up on the screen right now here, and they're quoting me, of all people, Jason. So you can follow me at Twitter, Todd Amtrib. Jason, you are at JRob from Minnesota here. But the wonderful folks over at Red Voice Media have really been pushing this narrative as well that we're trying to get out here, that it is amping up and it's getting extreme and it's getting pretty dangerous out there. And Jason, we spent the first half hour focusing on the inflation piece and how the Biden admin and Democrats and the media are trying to tell us one thing about inflation when in reality we don't see that in our day-to-day lives. The same thing is happening with Donald Trump. We had 4 years of a wonderful American president. We had peace, we had economic prosperity, and at the same time, the media and the Dems tried to tell us that he was the new Hitler, that we were living under fascism. All these things were happening. And now what we see happening is they're gearing up for 2024, and we've got some video clips as the receipts here. But we've got Democrats in the media telling us that he's an extremist. He wants to imprison people. He wants to execute people. He is worse than Hitler. These are not our words. These are their words that we're going to show up in a second here. And people are realizing at a certain point, like, look, I don't like Trump. I don't like some of the things they said about him, his personal life, blah, blah, blah. But even the most hardcore leftists are realizing that, yeah, I didn't like him as a president, but is he really worse than Hitler? Like, I know a lot about Hitler because we all learn about the Holocaust exclusively in school. Separate conversation about what we learn in school, but they're starting to realize that this doesn't add up.
Yeah, and it's remarkable. We talk about the cognitive dissonance, right? And you know, you talk to your Democrat friends or family 4 or 5 years ago, you know, oh, he's a Russian agent. Oh, and then he's corrupt. Oh, he's worse than Hitler. Oh, he's going to take over. And now you see that narrative crumbling because normal people are looking, your life has not improved. Let's just be frank. There is we're on the breach of World War III, which we heard for years Donald Trump was going to bring us to. No, congratulations, Joe Biden got us there. They were talking about the disastrous economic policies of President Trump. Raise your hand if you're in better financial shape 3-4 years ago than you were today. And it just keeps going downhill. Costs are up, interest is up, all those sorts of things. And this Hitler narrative, especially, is remarkable because Todd said it well. Like, we all know a bit about Hitler and we know how bad Hitler was. And there, you know, Hitler would be the guy that you would turn the government loose on your enemies. You would try to jail your enemies. You would try to execute them. Well, this just in, folks. Everybody's waking up. There's thousands of people in jail from January 6th. Republicans and conservatives all over the world, they're getting arrested in school boards. They're getting arrested for pro-life protests. Meanwhile, on the left, they can do whatever they want. And this is where your average normal Democrat, they're going to start waking up about Trump. They're never going to like Trump. They'll probably never vote for Trump, but they're going to realize they're being lied to, that this guy isn't Hitler. Todd, should we pop a clip?
Let's pop the first one here. This one's pretty good.
Similarities between Mussolini and Hitler, and the use of the terminology like vermin, and the drive that those men had towards autocracy and dictatorship. The difference, though, I think makes Donald Trump even more dangerous, and that is he has no philosophy.
Even more dangerous than Hitler. Let that sink in. You have to be on a different level of insane to think that, especially because we have the receipts. We have 4 years of a Trump administration and life was good. The media would have you believe otherwise, but we lived every day. We went through the Trump admin. Didn't see it.
Right. Hey, shout out to my friend Tom Pendergast. Trump is the most ill-maligned politician in our history. He's done right, not wrong.
Yep.
He loves America. You know, it's funny you say that too, because I was talking to somebody that went to Mar-a-Lago, and they said it really sinks in what President Trump is going through when you realize that he is a multi-billionaire with a supermodel wife and a lovely family who owns a bunch of properties, including Mar-a-Lago, one of the most beautiful places ever. And he knows by running for president, they're going to try to throw him in jail. They're going to try to destroy his business, which is what's going on in New York City. And you think of what you have sacrificed as American for this country, short of veterans, I don't know any civilian in America that has given more up to fight for this country. And that's why your Democrat friends are starting to wake up in this rhetoric. They're like, do you think Donald Trump is going to just start throwing people in camps? Is that what we're saying? And Todd, permission to go tinfoil hat for a minute.
Hey, can I join you for a tinfoil hat?
Oh my God, the tag team tinfoil hat. We need to bust it out, folks. Round of applause for Todd, and he joined the Tinfoil Hat Society. Here's an important message that you need to understand. Normal people are waking up and they're saying President Trump, yeah, he's not Hitler, he's not Mussolini. Like these people are insane. Here's the dangerous people, and this is my conspiracy theory. If you think, and if you were a citizen in Germany when Hitler was rising to power, and you knew what Hitler would become, right? So you could see in the future, and you're in there when Hitler's rising to power. What steps would you take to prevent that from happening? If you know the end result, and you're a God-fearing citizen, and I don't know about you, but if I'm running an election in Germany and I see a ballot with Hitler's name on it, I'll throw it away. If I see somebody committing crimes or doing things to imprison him, I'm gonna ignore that. I'm gonna ignore the police going after him because I know how bad Hitler is. And I'll be honest, like Hitler would have been lucky to survive to election. And so in the normal people are waking up, but also the people who haven't woke up, you need to be scared of those people. Because if you're sitting out there saying, no, Trump really is Hitler, what ends would you stop at to stop Hitler? Or what wouldn't you do to prevent Hitler from power? And that was kind of the context of the tweet that Red Voice Media put out. They wrote a great article about it too, where if you think of it, what would an American citizen do if they knew they could stop Hitler? So those people that really believe it, like those people need to scare you.
And Jason, permission to keep this hat on a second longer here. Not only the focus on Donald Trump, but what would you do at a certain point after being told for years and years that all of Trump's supporters were just as evil as him in propping up fascism?
Right.
All right. And we see evidence right now of Trump supporters being in prison. It's been going on several years, and we still have examples of the FBI targeting Catholics, school board meetings. We saw someone get thrown in prison because they posted a meme in the 2016 election. Very one-sided political prosecution there, but you deserve it if you support Donald Trump in the far right wing of America. And so as this rhetoric amps up, I would certainly be worried if I were President Trump about my own personal security. But I put that quote out there. It cannot be overstated how dangerous the amped up Democrat talking points have become about Donald Trump, because it connects all of us as well that support his policies or would vote for him. Because at a certain point, they're going to shut it all down, not just for the one person, but the movement that allowed him to come to power too.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because one of the most famous Donald Trump quotes is, "They're not coming after me, they're coming after you. I'm just in the way." And as a conservative, somebody who throws on the MAGA hat, somebody who supports the American First movement, think about it. Everything they want you fired. Go into your liberal workplace with a MAGA hat and talk about President Trump and how much you like him and see what happens. We have a bunch of digital properties on social media. Right now, one of our big Facebook pages, President Trump is my wingman. Currently, Facebook has taken it down for some ridiculous reason. They said we were impersonating President Trump when clearly it's a President Trump fan page. It says so in the description. But these are the little things that big tech does to help tweak to make it difficult. When we talk about, Todd and I run a business together, when we look at payment processors, we still mail checks because they can't cancel us by mailing checks instead of doing electronic transfers and having PayPal come after you. So for anybody out there who's conservative, this amped up rhetoric, and like Todd said, if you are really convinced that Donald Trump is Hitler, and I have a MAGA hat on, and I therefore am supporting Hitler, what are you going to do to me?
You would be morally justified. That is the concern, as they create this new relative morality in society there. If he is that bad and the people that support him are that bad, at a certain point, you're going to be justified and obligated to end such an evil here. And Jason, just tinfoil a little bit farther here. When we had last week Thomas Massey's kill switch bill get shut down. So we talked about how the government has mandated a kill switch in your vehicle starting in 2026 that some operative can shut down. We've talked about central bank digital currencies before, where all of your money is digital. You look at all the different ways here. So we have cell phone trackers as well. Your cell phone is all digital. If at a certain point you and I vote for Donald Trump or a candidate like him, and the government doesn't like that anymore, car doesn't start, bank accounts, I can't access any of my money, maybe my phone doesn't work anymore, I can't communicate with my family and friends, you should all be aware that there are a lot of things falling into place right now that very quickly your life could turn upside down if enough people get in power and don't like what you're doing.
It's funny, we talked about the Massey kill switch, and I kind of like Thomas Massey. I don't always agree with Thomas Massey. He's a member of the House. He's kind of libertarian, small government guy. And it was fascinating because he went through all these omnibus bills. He sent his staff through, and he found an amendment that says all new vehicles manufactured in 2026 have a remote kill switch. And they framed it where if you were impaired, they could disable your vehicle. And this isn't tinfoil hat. This is in the legislation. He took it to the House floor and said, we can't have that. We can't give the government the ability to hit a button and shut off your car. And I can't think of any rational American that thinks that is a good idea. I guess there's a few blue-haired cat ladies out there that might be like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. But folks, this government overreach has to stop. And it's just kind of like right now, why is the government weaponized? After 9/11, we gave all this power to the government with the Patriot Act and with the FISA courts. And that weapon we gave them to go after terrorists is now going after who the government says is the greatest domestic terror threat in America. Which, Todd, is that the Hamas protesters or the illegal immigrants? Or
Let me think about that, Jason.
yeah, no, that would happen to be people that wear the red hat. I'm just saying, folks. It is insane. Yeah, getting some great comments out here too. Rick Little, this is BS. Trump is a patriot. God love you, Rick. We couldn't agree more. And then I love this from Trustee Job. These people who spew the Hitler Nazi comments, just how idiotic these commies are. They're as intelligent as Fetterman. And yeah.
Hey, don't insult Fetterman here. I think he might be smarter than some of these people.
I gotta say, yeah, just to give John Fetterman a little credit, we always try to cover both sides and be fair. If you follow John Fetterman's Twitter account, he's on the right side of some issues. Like he thinks, well, we don't have to go into Fetterman, but go follow his Twitter account. You'll be surprised.
And it's coherent, Jason. It's he writes in complete sentences on Twitter too, thoughtful, thought out. So it's
I don't think he's necessarily right.
I don't think that's really him.
But I think his policy positions, there's a couple surprises in there.
Well, when you squeak out a victory like he did in Pennsylvania, which is certainly purple and not completely blue, you got to be careful with what you say sometimes, maybe. But Jason, I noticed that we're running up against the clock, and we still have some videos to show all this Trump derangement going on. Should we get another clip?
Giddy up.
Yeah, have a responsibility to really tune out the voices of the haters, of the people that are constantly double and triple checking and shilling for him and suggesting that somehow they're being biased, bending over backwards, treating him like a normal candidate. He's not a normal candidate. He is running to end American democracy as we know it. He's an authoritarian who a court in Colorado 2 days ago ruled that he led an insurrection against the United States government. He's charged with leading schemes to help overthrow the United States government. So if they want to frame it that way, that's fine. If you want to be fair.
Now, I'm going to pause him there. I can't take too much of that. He goes on in the clip, though, Jason, to talk about how Trump, if he were given the chance, would throw people in prison and execute his political opponent. Not just imprison them. He went so far as to suggest that Trump is going to execute people that he doesn't like.
All right, Todd, just because I'm a glutton for punishment, I'm going to ask you to start that clip over. But here's what I want the viewers to watch. Watch his co-host, Mila, or whatever her name is. Just watch her.
Have a responsibility to really tune out the voices of the haters, of the people that are constantly double and triple checking and shilling for him and suggesting that somehow they're being biased, bending over backwards, treating him like a normal candidate. He's not a normal candidate.
I gotta say, that woman is either a tremendous actor or she looks at you and I as somebody who has a MAGA hat as vermin. And they want, like, in this whole diatribe, they're talking about Trump and what he's going to do. You can tell by what she's saying and her body language and the look of disgust on her face. She does not look at us as fellow American citizens.
Human beings. I want to think that she's acting, but Jason, I don't know anymore. I think some of these people truly believe their world, their lies. Yeah, she talk about throw people in camp. I think she would build a camp tomorrow if she could and put you and I in it.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny because people like to, one of the common tropes, and we tend to land on that side, is what Democrats say is really what they're doing. And they like to prequel it. Hey, Trump's going to get us in World War III. No, turns out it's Joe Biden. Hey, Trump's gonna prosecute his political opponents. Well, turns out it's Joe Biden. But understand too, and we covered this in last week's episode, your establishment Republicans aren't fighting back nearly strong enough for you folks. And that's why, if you're going to support a candidate like President Trump, go directly to his website and support him. It's been really encouraging. About 3 or 4 non-MAGA candidates have retired from the House and support their primary people. Mitt Romney retired, and they got Mayor Trent Staggs, who's running for that Senate seat, who is tried and true American. We've interviewed him on another show, and great guy. So the tide is turning, and we should probably talk about how the tide's turning in the world, Todd, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we should a little bit. But just one more point on the establishment Republicans while we pull this up here is that even if I know they're afraid of Trump here, they're afraid to even be associated with him. But what cowardice, Jason, that they can't even speak up and say, this is a step too far to be using this kind of language against not only a former president, but now a political candidate once again, and a fellow human being, an American citizen. There are crickets from Washington, D.C., and most, if not all, Republicans as Trump is going through this here.
Oh, you know what? Before we go to around the world too, let's play that one clip.
We have Dan Goldman. Do you want to go to Dan really fast?
Let's go to Dan Goldman.
Every time he talks, he's putting himself into a bigger criminal hole. But that's not his objective. His objective is purely political at this point. Politics don't work in a courtroom, as I think he's finding out in the New York Attorney General's case in New York, a civil case, and that's going to continue in his criminal trials. But his rhetoric is really getting dangerous, more and more dangerous. And we saw what happened on January 6th when he uses inflammatory rhetoric now. And his recent Truth Social post is incredibly, incredibly scary for anyone that might be trying to work in government. And it is just unquestionable at this point that man cannot see public office again. He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
A member of the U.S. House of Representatives is on television saying a political candidate of the opposition party needs to be eliminated. And that's not front page news. And just to fact check what they're talking about, where Trump said he's going to go after his political opponents, Trump was given a rally speech, and he said, just understand all these tactics that they're using against me, that's the new bar, and that's how we treat our political opponents. So that is what I will be doing when I get in office. And I don't know about you, Todd, but I think that's a fair statement to make.
We got to play by the rules. There's no more Mr. Nice Guy. If you're playing by 2 different sets of rules, and the one is that there are no rules, they're going to win every time. So do I like that it's here? No. In an ideal world, we'd be somewhere else. But Democrats on the left have taken us to a new place now in terms of politics, and you either fight at that level or you lose every time. So it seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, and that's really the point when we talk about establishment Republicans. Establishment Republicans love fundraising, and they love taking second place, and they do that because that's where they make the most money. True American First Patriots, guys like Matt Gaetz or those folks, there's Byron Donalds and Chip Roy and some of these people that truly believe in America. They're trying to change that, and that's why you need to support those candidates. But around the world, where we talk about people waking up, Todd, I'll let you go through this.
Yeah, what a week, this tweet says. So if you're on Twitter, End Wokeness is a fantastic follow here, but I'm just going to read this off here for those listening on audio. But we have Argentina elects the first anti-socialist economist, Javier Milei, in a landslide. So that was a big election last week that he had in the runoff last Sunday. I'm going to butcher this name because I don't speak Dutch, but Geert Wilders and his party won a shocking landslide in the Netherlands. And then actually, Jason, look at this. Right here at home, Republican mayor was elected in Charleston for the first time since 1877. But a trip around the world says that regular people, normal people are waking up. They say, I can't vote for the leftist party anymore because my life is getting ruined.
Yeah, and it's funny, just, shout out to the mayor in Charleston. Todd, did you hear how many votes he won by?
How many?
477 votes. So for anybody who's wondering about how important your vote is going to be in this next election, Charleston, they haven't had a Republican mayor since the 1800s. They skipped the entire 1900s. They just skipped that entire century. And now we're in 2023 and they have voted for a Republican. So make sure when we go into this next election that you drag kicking and screaming everybody you know who's going to support America First values. And these candidates have a few commonalities. They're in countries that are getting destroyed by leftist policies, from open borders to just giving out free money. All these guys campaigned on, we're going to eliminate, we're going to shrink government, we're going to cut subsidies, that kind of thing. I gotta say, the Argentinian dude, Javier, however you pronounce his name, he's great. Like, he was doing TV shows and he had all the government departments up on a magnet board, and he's like, okay, this department gone, this department gone, this department gone. And I'm kind of hoping our next president does that for us, because I gotta say, it's spectacular. And for me, if we shrunk the federal government by 70-80%, I would still think it's too big.
Yeah, we didn't have a House Speaker for 3 weeks, and I loved it, Jason. Nothing happened out of Washington, D.C. I could get used to that for a couple of years, but we don't have time to go into detail on each of these candidates. But like you said, they got some commonalities there. They're very pro their country. So immigration is out of control. The economy especially is what won the ticket there, because Argentina especially, their currency has been devalued so much that a libertarian economist is the perfect person. If anyone's going to fix it and turn it around, it's this guy. But you can't print money. You can't spend money wildly. And then regular people, again, woke up and said, what I was doing before isn't working. I'm going to take a flyer. Just like I did in 2016, Jason. I said, I don't know much about Donald Trump, but sounds good enough to me, because I'm not doing Hillary. I'm not doing Jeb. Like, I have nothing to lose at this point, because the economy is going to go in the tank. And really fast, this didn't make it on the slide, Jason, but talk about news and people waking up and how things are portrayed. Did you catch what's going on in Ireland now?
Oh my gosh.
So you have
show any videos on some of these platforms, but
yeah, we're not going to show the video there, but you have, I believe, I'm going to say alleged Facebook, but I believe an illegal immigrant goes on a stabbing spree. I don't think the media is going to focus on the weapon they use, because it wasn't the weapon of choice that they like to demonize. But this person goes on a stabbing spree, kills children, kills Irish nationals. And in response, what the media is calling a far right rally protest kind of turns chaotic. There's burning. It was kind of disastrous in parts of Ireland last night, but it is getting framed up as, imagine a Trump supporting crowd did this. It's the same thing. Far right nationals are all these anti-immigrant, xenophobic, fill in the blank there, Hillary Clinton, sexist, Islamophobic, racist, you name it, basket of deplorables right there. But how the media is framing this stabbing spree is that the people that reacted to it and just want their country to be safe and secure, they're the extremists.
Yeah, and I gotta say, shout out to Twitter, and independent media and independent journalists, things that do like what Todd and I do. That's why you need to turn off MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, and you need to find content creators like, hopefully, Todd and I aspire to be. Red Voice Media. I stream on there a couple days a week with Wayne Dupree. Hey, and do me a favor, send them a message. Say they should pick up our show here too, so we can get a bigger audience. We love the folks at Red Voice Media, though. They cover a lot of world events, and a lot of it comes from a right perspective, but it's trying to get facts out there. And I guarantee you, if you go on Twitter or you go to Red Voice Media's page where they've covered some of this stuff, and we'll be writing some pieces on our website too. This is horrible, and Ireland was burning last night, and normies don't know that happened, and it was because they've let in thousands of illegal immigrants, and these immigrants, there was violence, and they're going through economic chaos, kind of like New York City is, and regular people had enough. And not that we don't love all the people of the world, but it's kind of like in an airplane. You got to save yourself first. And if we don't put on the oxygen mask for ourselves and save our country, it doesn't matter what's going on around the world.
Well said, Jason. And I think the last point I'm going to make here, and we'll close out the show, is that you said we come from a right-wing perspective, but we're trying to seek truth. Look, if seeking truth is a right-wing trait nowadays, label me whatever you want. At the end of the day, you and I are trying to dig into what is going to be best for you, for me, for our communities, for our country, for the people around us here. If you want to call that right-wing, call it right-wing. But right now, we are truth-oriented, and if we're attacking Dems today, next week it's establishment Republicans. We have no agenda other than getting the truth out to you folks. But let us know if there's anything else you want us to cover. We've done some current events lately. If there's a current event that we missed out on this week, let us know in the comments, and we'll touch on it next week. Otherwise, Jason, do you want the final word this time? I think you're always giving it to me.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll close it out, folks. Hopefully you had a lot of great time with your friends and family on Thanksgiving, and you know, nothing's more important than your faith and your family. But I will say a close third for me is that we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. And every day, every child that's born in America, every person that's born in America is truly blessed. And it's blessed because I don't think there's ever been a better society and civilization. And seeing how much people demonize this country is a bunch of crap. And the way we're going to take this country back, because the country we're living in today isn't the country I was born in, but we're going to take it back by everyday Americans uniting against the power structure that is trying to make us hate each other. That's why we always talk about share this content with people you might not politically agree with, because at the end of the day, you're going to find out if you're a Republican and your neighbor across the street who's a Democrat, assuming it's not the blue-haired cat lady, you guys are going to have like 80% in common. And if we can focus on that 80% and getting this country back where it should be, life's going to be better for all of us. Don't let those differences destroy us and keep us apart. But thanks for tuning in, folks. You can check us out on we're on all the platforms. AmericanTribune.news. TheAmericanTribune.news is our deep dive stuff. Will just did a nice expose on Clinton and Epstein, and then for some of our lighter, more politically correct stuff, you can find us on theamericantribune.com. But thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next Friday.